Hey everybody, Boots in the Roots here with another quick and hopefully practical tip for your small farmer garden without all the chit chat and giggling. Today we're taking a look at some more fencing tips, and today in particular on how to do a corner brace that has a compound angle to it. So let's take a look, and I will explain what I mean by that. So over here on our 4x4 fence post that will soon formally have held our Tenax temporary deer fencing, this is going to be wire fencing. So the animals that we have been breaching through, and this is going to be a 5-foot high no climb horse fencing. Then we will still have Tenax for another 4 feet above that to keep the deer out. But we have a dilemma in that, you know, our fence line here, at some point you got to decide, you know, which direction's going to get this flat side to the run, and which side's going to have the angle. So you can see the angle here. This side's already done, and I have a previous video on how to do bracing like that. I won't go into all the details here. Please watch that video, and it explains why the brace is down here instead of up here, and the hole and right triangles and all that good stuff. So I've already prepared this with my hole there, ready to receive the post and the concrete. Now on these posts I am using about 33 inches is where I want the top of the brace to go below the surface of the ground. So right at 33, if I was to lay this across like that, that post should just hit at the 33-inch mark. Over here I've got it marked at 33, and again, the reasons for that are in the other video. So we have run the string line on the side of the post where the wire is going to go, and it runs down and it goes down to the other corner there, which was also a compound angle brace. So the quick cut here and get set up on how to mark your post. Okay, I'm back. Let's take a look at the next setup here. So I've got a 8-foot 4x4 post supported here. I have it in the hole. This hole's about, I want to say about 12 inches. Maybe 13 inches deep, and about 13 wide. And you can see we're right at our about 33 going down. The top surface is one we're concerned about. That top surface is going to mate up right there just below that when we're all set. This bar here is just to give me my mark where I want this going down into the hole. So the next important thing here is you want to have your hole wide enough so that you can lay this post in here parallel to your string, because since you're going to be marking on this case the left hand side of the post, if you were to have this in the center like it will be when you're pouring the concrete, the angle up here will be all wrong and it won't made up flush to the post. So you run your string, and then you must have your hole wide enough for these corner compound angle ones. At least you got to have wide enough so when you can just sight along that string and you see the gap between here and here and here and here. The gap should be very close to parallel the whole way, and that's important for marking this. Okay, I've got this held tight with a F clamp. This one's a little bit shallow, but it is holding on the corner. I've decided to use this face as the one to screw the brace to, because it's a little bit more of the open face is to the next corner back there. This is just that's too tight of an angle there, and you're not going to be able to brace it properly. I mean, this is almost a case where you would trim this off flat and then have a brace with a notch up on top that kind of mates around that. I've actually done that, but in this case here, I'm just going to go with getting attached to one face. And to be honest with you, the better thing to do would be to not have corners that are not 90 degrees. So you may have already wondered that and saying, hey Boots, why didn't you just make this 90 degrees? Well, sometimes you just can't do it. In this particular case, we were trying to stay outside the canopy of this heritage oak, and to bring the corner in over there would be cutting into this nice area here that is attractive, and it gets into the roots of the tree. So in order to give us as much space as possible in the garden area and to make this look somewhat attractive, we decided to go around here, this tree at a 45, and try to surround that nice oak tree. So that said, you can see I've got this set up now. It's handy because I can rest the corner on this neighboring brace. So I would do these ones first. You don't have to, you would just have to make sure you maybe clamp this much tighter so it doesn't move. And you're just doing that to clamp it so that it you can mark it and not have it shift on you. All right, so the next step will be getting everything marked. Again, this is determining your correct angle. So we're going to mark in here. That'll be a mark for cut, and then the next cut is going to be along this face here, up that direction. So another little cut here, and we'll get set up for marking. Okay, here we go with getting ready to mark for our cuts. I'm going to use something real thin, this Sawzall blade, and we're going to go in here and we're just going to scratch that. Just maybe run it up and down a few times so you can easily see that mark when you pull it off. Okay, and your next mark is going to be along the top here. So I've got something that can be a straight edge that has some width to it here, and you're going to set it carefully on this piece here, the brace, and then slide it up until it's tight there, and then it runs up along on top of your brace, and you're going to mark along that edge down to there. Now I'm doing this one-handed, so I'm going to put the camera down and mark that. So I've laid the brace post down, and I'm going to check the angle that I scribed on this side. So take the speed square, line that little divot right up to where your mark is, and then come down and check, and you can see here where it goes through. We're at 45 degrees, and that's what I expected, because when your base is 33 inches, which was to here, I moved this, but the base was at 33 and your height's at 33, obviously with a right triangle. The angle of the hypotenuse, which is your brace, and the top edge of the brace come down to here and hits at 33, you know that that's a 45 degree angle because you have a 90 there. So anyway, what you want to do here is get that same 45 scribed onto the other side. So another little cut here, and I'm going to set up to show you how to do that. Okay, we're going to mark the other side. So here's the side that we marked with it clamped to the vertical post. This is the side I marked using my straight edge bubble level. And to not confuse yourself, you can mark or scratch a T in there for top. So this is going to be up. And then you need to mirror that angle on the other side. So the 45 is going back that direction. So the 45 over here needs to go this direction. I've already marked it. But basically just get your notch up there and then go down, find your 45 like that, and then just make a notch your 45, and then just you know, hold it on there and scribe your line down. So those are all your cuts, and another break here. I'll get set up for cutting. Okay, I'm ready to start cutting, and what I've done here is take the brace and use these F clamps, and I clamped it to the 4x4, let it rest on there just as extra support. And yes, I could cut this on the ground. You can see here I've got it started. It's just easier to cut when you've got the angle that you're cutting at closer to vertical. It's much more accurate. You're pushing down and trying to, instead of trying to turn it way sideways. It just lets you stand up, and you can see on both sides that the cut's going along your lines. So you're going to just follow along your lines on both sides and watch carefully. Just go nice and slow. A really sharp saw helps to get started. And you don't have to do this. Again, I like this. It just makes it a lot more comfortable to cut. So I'm going to continue here, and we're going to just go nice and slow and get through that. And I'm going to make another edit right here, and we'll be back. Okay, we are through with the cut. There it is. And next step, the moment of truth. Take it down and stick it in your hole. This time you'll be sliding it over so that it lines up with the face that you're going to be screwing it onto. So I'm going to take it down here, and then I'll show it to you with it leaning up against the post. Okay, here it is, leaned up against the post. It's down in, and obviously, since we cut it at an angle, it's going to stick out a little bit because you're making this face much bigger than the width of your 4x4. So you got a couple choices. You can either just center it and screw it in that way, or what I like to do is, since this side would be harder to trim off, I'm gonna wind up moving it over like that, and then what I'll do is I'll trim this edge off here with the saw. So I just follow along the face of your 4x4 and trim this sharp point off. Okay, so the second thing is, you're going, hey, wait a minute, this is too tall. You're above your mark. Well, yes, we are, because I started with an 8-footer, and I don't run the base all the way tight to the ground. I want concrete around the bottom of the post. It keeps the moisture from wicking up into that and rotting it out prematurely. This is redwood, so it's going to take a long time, but still, you don't want moisture going up. So what I'm going to do here is get this out of the way, and I just want it off the bottom a few inches. So you can either have somebody just hold the tape measure for you, or if you want, you could put a couple rocks in there or something that would mark where the bottom of the post will be. Whatever you want to do that way, and then just take your tape measure and measure from there up to your 33 line, and then just see what that length is. And you want to mark to your far side. That's going to be your long side. So your longest side will be where you measure from on your longest side. So you would put the tape measure up on this point over here and measure down into your hole how far you want that to go down in there. So I'll do that, and then once it's up, you'll be able to see that a little easier. Okay, let's see how we came out. We are in the hole at the proper location, parallel to the string, and it's going to clear where the wire will run. And wound up a little shy of our 33. That's okay. That's just from anomaly of hand cutting. It doesn't have to be exact, as long as you are, getting close to your right measurements there. You'll be close to 45 degrees. Doesn't matter if it's winds up being 43 or 42 or 46. Not rocket science here. Just need a fairly tight connection, and you can see we have that. I took the liberty to trim off this edge here that was sticking out and had a sharp edge, and I just didn't like the way that looked. So you can trim this however you want. My 33 mark is right there, but so I could trim that if I wanted to. It's not that big a deal. Up to you how much you want to trim that edge off. And I've got a couple 3-inch deck screws in here, and then 2 more on the top. So you can see there we have a nice tight connection, and it looks pretty good. Again, if you can, make your fencing with 90-degree corners, but if you need to do other angles, this is an option. It does take a little practice. It's taken me a couple to kind of get the procedure down, and it may take you a few practice runs to get the cutting right. But again, it doesn't need to be exact, and as long as it's matching up close to your other side, it's not that visible if it's off a little bit. The last thing down in the hole here, depending on where this winds up, we were a little shy of our 33. You do want to just adjust your hole so that you've got some clearance behind here for concrete to flow around. So I'm not going to show that here, but I'm going to dig this out just a couple inches total, clean out the debris in the bottom, and then we'll be filling this with sackcrete, bagged concrete. And what I do there, I show in the other video, but basically I just put in 1 bag and put in some water per the instructions into the hole. Just use a rod or something to kind of tamp it down, and put some holes in that dry powder, let the water flow in, stir it up a little bit. Then I pour in the second bag and some more water on top of that. And this hole's pretty big. It's probably going to take 2.5 bags. You want to get it filled up and flow in around here. Ideally, you would have it mound up so any rainwater does not collect down in there. So if you're concerned about that, and then once that's all hard, ready to cover over after a few days, if you want to move some dirt back in over the top so you don't see that, that's totally fine. So I hope you enjoyed that not so quick practical tip. But if you do run into this situation, I hope it helps you out. And thanks for watching. Thanks to everybody who is subscribing and hitting those like buttons. I really appreciate it. Lets me know that you want to see more of these videos. And we will see you next time.